Thank you and good morning. I'll start with a movie. How? How is the question of whatever you heard this morning already as an introduction. And from our side, we believe for industries, it's the transformation into the digital enterprise, which happens now, is the be or not to be for companies in the future. And I know what I'm talking about, coming from Siemens, because we started 1847 with a disruption. We started with electric motors, and we gained market shares. We brought it to a high level in the market. And when we were strongest, we were also investing in the next era into automation, becoming a leader in automation globally. And out of that strength, we also started our journey 13 years ago in digitization. This is when we started to acquire software companies, bringing OT and IT together. And this is what I encourage to companies today. Take the strength as long as you have it in the market and start now this transformation. So let's take a look at what drove us. What was driving us was productivity in more than 250 plants of our own. And they all have different pain points. They're manufacturing motors, turbines, and automation products. This is our plant in Amberg. It's producing millions of products by now, and it is fully digitalized. If you take a look at the figures, in the last 30 years, we increased productivity 13 times with the same footprint, coming from an automation into the digitalization. We increased quality, track and trace, everything needed to be a leader in the market and to rely on that and be ready for the future. We have to be flexible. We have more than 1,200 products that are available on the shop floor, and we can shrink it down from what we want to produce down to the resistors we need, to the material of the stock, and get it out, shipped out with a high percentage and no failure. So what is it that the digital enterprise means to us? It really starts already with smart grids. It's not just consuming energy, it's managing the energy. And if you're getting it from the outside, or if you put solar panels or add wind or your own power plant in the manufacturing, it needs to be managed. It needs to be managed because the environments will change quickly. You will have times where the price of energy is high and you need other energy resources and you need to manage it. So there will be prices that are going low, and then there might be another energy mix that you want to do. So that's what we understand are the smart grids portfolio. Smart buildings, zero CO2 emissions in buildings. This is another part which is getting more and more important to companies as well. So it's managing the HVAC, it's managing the electricity, the lights, and everything else around that. It's about the digital process and discrete automation products that are coming now with new capabilities. They already have data inside, lots of data inside but it's not really used if you don't get it into an industrial software. So this is the part that we have invested over the 13 years into industrial software, which is hardened, which has a future for another 100 years to be around with Siemens. So this is the part of the digital enterprise, and this is something we believe in for other customers as well. So now you know all these buzzwords of the new technologies, and the question is how and where and when to apply them. And is additive manufacturing a game changer? Well, maybe not for everyone, but who knows? We need to go in there, we need to experience, but we understand that customers, companies cannot do everything on their own. Will artificial intelligence change the way we work? Yes, everywhere. And I mean that everywhere. And it's working today already in 50% of the developed industries. Autonomous systems, cognitive engineering, all these parts is in different areas are important. Industrial 5G, though, is another step which will give us the bandwidth to do what we need to do in order to connect all the devices, to make IoT Industry 4.0 work. So this is something that we are heavily investing, we are front runner as well, but it's something that companies need to look at and see the capabilities. There won't be the limit of bandwidth in the future. And IoT and industrial edge computing, this is something I encourage to look at companies now. And I will have a couple of these examples of what I mean in how to use it and what to do. But there's no one size fits all. So from our belief and looking at the electronics manufacturing that we are capable of with the thematic projects and our own products, looking at other industry, we learn a lot from chemical. They have different pain points than pharmaceutical. They also have a different level of investments capabilities. We have automotive, highly discrete. We know exactly what the digital twin of a discrete product looks like, right? And in my industry, it's food and beverage, is more process. What's the digital twin of a process? Well, it's the recipe. I will come to that. But these are the industries and where we need to see that companies get solutions customized exactly to the industries that they are working in. And even in food and beverage, I can tell you, I cannot present a brewery solution to a dairy. I cannot have a dairy solution for a bakery, confectionery, or to consumer packaged goods company. This is where the level is needed in order to understand the way we go and where to start. Where to start the digital journey. We encourage companies to think big, but start small. And that is a part of the culture as well. You need to bring the people with you, behind you, step by step, but showing the value. Start with something, with a pain point, showing the value, and then everybody will understand. Less slides, more actions. So we have to overcome all these challenges in the industry, and all of them, especially the closer you get to the consumer, have these drivers. Faster time to market. That's true within Greece to the market. That's true from Greece to the outside as well, because it's a global competition for the experts. At the same time, we have to maintain quality, even increase quality in order to be productive. And we have to increase the flexibility. There will be sales orders coming in faster. The expectation to deliver in time is there. And now tell me, with these three drivers driving the cost up, how can we reduce the cost at the same time? That's the challenge, right? And there's another two things coming in more and more. As we connect all these devices, as we have more and more suppliers working together in order to be faster, we co-create, we are at the same spot with many people. We have networks, we are communicating, it's getting wireless. We have to be secure. We have to make sure that we have a proper IP, that nobody disturbs our manufacturing. All these things that you can hear out of hacker is increasingly phenomenal. So we see this happening in the market. And environmental efficiency. That's our part of understanding of sustainability. So we have to be, as an industry, part of saving the planet for the future of our children. So whatever we do with all these drivers, we also have to think, how can we be more sustainable? It will be a driver in the future, especially in the high developed regions, that young consumers will define where to buy. Is that product that I'm buying out of a company that I trust is sustainable for the future? So that we have to consider already today in our concepts for the future is the buying behavior and being around for the next 100 years. So what is that? That is a soup kitchen. A soup kitchen of the biggest food producer on the planet. And it is at the end of Finland. And it's a digitalization story. Why? Because they asked us that it's in this region that they need to modernize because of obsolescence. And we said, well, in these days, we don't modernize, we digitalize. We invest in order to modernize, but to bring you up to speed in the digital arena. That was part of a consulting approach that we were doing, and we modernized, and we connected the soup kitchen, big soup kitchen, we connected the soup kitchen digitally. And then we said, okay, now we have all this data, we can analyze a lot, but there's a lot of old stuff around. There's filling and packaging, there are compressors, media, and so on. There's the stock and everything on site. So we connected all these devices with edge devices. We put edge devices on top of other machines, which are little PCs connecting to legacy products, non-Siemens products, and they make the blind spots seeing. So all of a sudden, we have data at a low cost, and we can collect data. So what do we do with the data? We started performance optimization. We also put in more metering in order to understand where is the energy going, where is the water going, where is the waste production. So all these things are driving productivity and the cost of conversion down. And after 3 months of implementation, we already were at 1.5%, and we see about more than 2.5% of productivity just with this part of coming from a modernization, putting some edge devices to the other equipment, and see the benefit. That's cash. That's cash that you can put into the people, you can put it into the development of new products, and you can put it into sales and marketing in order to increase production, because at the same time, we can produce 5% more volume in this soup kitchen. So coming to the digital twin that I mentioned real quick, where we put the virtual world, or let's say the real world, into the virtual world. In the virtual world, we simulate, we have ideas, we put in together the commercials, the R&D, the quality department, and everybody can look at the virtual twin. They don't have to go anywhere. And then we map it down to the real world, the real production, and get the performance data back. So what does that mean for the soup kitchen? It was the recipe management also to the stock available, making sure that when you start a recipe that you have all the ingredients and map it down to the shop floor. So the digital twin of the production, we could simulate, virtual commission, do changes, optimize, and in that modernization project, we could reduce the ramp up from a planned 6 weeks to a 2-week ramp up to the highest level of production, because everything was simulated and defined before, and we had everybody in the same room in the virtual world. We then mapped it down to the real world, going to the real production. And the same digital twin that was available for the planning part of the project is now running on a daily basis and is doing scheduling. And from the scheduling part, so the digital twin of performance has 2 sides, we can also map it to the real happenings on the shop floor. So what you've scheduled is one thing that you tell the plant to do, but now, was it done this way? Was it done in night shift, in day shift? Was the quality okay? If you get later on a feedback of some quality issues, you can trace and track back all the issues of that batch in this plant. And we take this information back with data analytics to the recipe management, to the laboratory, to the quality management, and this is how we define the digital twin of a process and discrete arena, while discrete is in this case very much the packaging side. So this should give you an overview of the connectivity I was saying. With new equipment, you see on the lower end, you get this equipment in the future directly connected, giving you all the data you need of the performance to define your KPIs. Of existing equipment, you can run edge devices, edge applications. That will increase a lot of PCs in your shop floor, in the industry. These have to be managed. We said about the security patches and everything. So this is managed out of the server. You can have it running in a cloud. Let's call it a cloud on-premise. You can have it in the real cloud. But if you're interested, you can also go into the cloud and have apps running into the cloud. It all depends on where's the value add, where you do want to do the processing, and which costs are involved. So we do see the need for the edge computing as a pre-processing and contextualizing the data of the shop floor before you send it somewhere, and other people will look at something that, if it's not contextualized, you will probably not get that much of a result. So companies are not alone on this journey. So we are happy to share our insights that we have gone for the past 13 years and do the consulting. So don't be afraid to ask for help. You can't have, either in small and mid-sized companies, you can't have all the specialists, and you don't have to know everything about 5G, artificial intelligence, and so on. Get help. Reach out and get that consulting and get a roadmap together, the lack of the roadmap that we heard before. Implementation. There are companies around, partners, our own, they are ready to start the implementation. The optimization. You don't have to do that alone. It's also available as services. The new technology will give us even more capabilities in software as a service in the future, pay-per-use, and be more flexible and be also cost sufficient on these services that can be offered. And financing. We know that it's not always easy, especially in the F&B industry with little margins, to think of these projects and think of return of invest. We are a strong believer that return of invest is important, but the CFOs may or may not like it. Going into digital arena may not give you the return of invest like in the former times when you do energy savings and in 2 years, 3 years' time, you get the money back. It's again, maybe just about, can I deliver in time? I get the sale. Can I not deliver in time? I don't get the sale. That's be or not to be in the future. So that's the main message. So happy to be with you here on stage discussing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You can have a seat.
Yes.